on October 6th.
Alex isn't a spy. He's kidding.
Only one movie.
Don't look back. Why not?
Trust me. Is an exciting adventure for the whole family. I'm not a spy.
That's not what they told me.
Alex Rider, Operation Stormbreaker, in theaters Friday.
Welcome, all you secret agents, to Cinemarcade. This is the show about movies, video games, and the sparks that fly when those two worlds collide. I'm teen dreamboat Steve Guntley, and who else is here with me today?
Hi, I am international Russian assassin.
That was Fat Bastard. That was a Fat Bastard impression.
That was a Fat Bastard.
I don't know who that is.
It's a
So
little bit of Shrek.
Well, if you know who Shrek is, you know who Fat Bastard is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't
Not that we're
like-
body shaming Shrek.
I don't like to do accents because I can't do them well enough for them not
It's
to be
the same
shitty
person.
accents.
We're not body
know.
shaming Shrek. It's
I
the same
know.
person who does the voice.
I'm aware. It's Justin is here. Hi, Justin. We cut
Yeah.
you off with a bit.
I look vaguely like that one guy from Band of Brothers because that's the guy.
It's the guy. It's the guy. And who else is here with us today?
It is J-Ban.
I love the new way you pronounce your name.
J-Ban.
I like that you have a short name that you try and milk as many syllables out of as you
Yep.
possibly can. I think that's very Texan of you. I appreciate your embracing it.
It's the most syllables out of 4 letters I may have ever seen.
Folks, we have a real swerve for you today because we have a Justin's choice. And Justin threw
I
us
chose well.
one of the wilder curveballs I could have expected. Now, obviously, I knew this movie was on the list because I made the list, but I didn't put any thought into what this was, or it occurred to me that a movie, it's like, oh, I'm gonna keep pushing this down the line because it's a movie we'll talk about and we'll have to be bored and like skip over it. And yet you chose it. You chose it out of the pick. You invited it to the prom, to the big show.
Did I choose it? But as I watched it, I would occasionally flip to that point in the book and be like, "Wait a minute!
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
interesting."
Justin has outed himself as a book reader here, and I think
Normally,
As a young adult book reader.
Normally, I'm the book reader, but
Yeah.
this time Justin's the book reader.
So tell us why you decided to choose Alex Rider, Operation Stormbreaker. That's right. I don't think we said the name of the book yet, but of the
Yes.
movie. Yeah. Because that's not the name of the book. That's Stormbreaker is just the book, right?
Yeah.
I got it.
I as a kid read a lot of young adult novels, and
You mean as a young adult, you read a lot of young adult novels?
Yeah, I think when you're that age, you just call them novels. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I also started reading things well before I probably should have read it. A lot of awkward questions to my parents.
Oh, sure.
None of them got answered because my parents was like, what? And I'm like,
Mom, can you
6?
explain this passage from Lady Chatterley's Lover to me?
I once asked my mom what a bimbo was, and my dad what a virgin was, and this was all before I was like 9.
That's fair. That's fair.
And they were like, I don't know what to do here. Ah!
Run away.
Good times.
But anyway, you were reading this book.
Yeah, no, I have read almost
I
the
like how that's
entire
the parenting
series.
strategy of your parents. It's just running away.
Run
I would
away.
love it if they had smoke bombs. Every time an awkward question was asked, they would just throw a smoke bomb.
Look, I am awkward. My parents are awkward. That's where we came from.
The smoke
words.
Bomb, the smoke bomb is a Midwest tradition. Yeah.
But as a kid, this was one of the series that I read a ton of because I was like, oh, it's super cool. It's a young kid who gets recruited to be a spy, but he's still clearly a young kid. And it's British,
Sure.
which was enough for me. So
I was kind of an Anglophile as a kid too. I was really into like British stuff and like would annoy my parents doing British
Yeah.
accents all the time. I
And
still do that.
I knew there was a movie, but I have never seen it up until this point. And so I
Okay.
was like, you know what? It's time to go.
There's also a TV series.
There was a
I
2-season show.
learned about that.
Yeah.
While
It's still on. The third
yeah.
and final season is coming out next month.
You know, I read it has like an 86% Rotten Tomatoes, like it has pretty good reviews. It's probably not necessarily for our demographic, but apparently it seems like that might be the better option. You said you knew there was a movie but hadn't seen it.
I learned
I think
about
you
the
might
series.
now be among the first people to see this movie. I think the three of us might be the first people to have watched this film in its
So,
entirety.
Whenever we talk about bombs, there's a part of me that's just sad because I'm like, people put their love and devotion into film, and it's so sad when something bombs. And then I watched Alex Rider Operation Stormbreaker, and I'm like,
I get it.
I get
it.
Sometimes, like, you know, I was sitting here going to bat for Cutthroat Island, even though it's like one of the world's most notorious bombs.
Yeah.
And I still will go to bat for it. But
Absolutely.
like Operation Stormbreaker was so bad.
It's
This
like
thing
an
is-
unredeemable bad. It's a bad that's so bad that multiple times during the movie I audibly went, "What? Who okayed this?"
I was genuinely confused at many points in this movie by some of the things I was seeing. Like my brain was struggling to process some of the things.
Well,
Like,
and it
I
was-
did not realize this movie was going to be so bizarre.
Fun fact: the horse chase scene, that whole thing is not in the book.
Sure.
All the
because
way,
it doesn't make sense.
because it doesn't make sense. Nobody finds out that he's doing this stuff.
Why
for
are
quite
the
a
royal
while.
guards going after him? I thought that they like.
We will have much to say on that, but
But also, it was supposed to be a car chase, but he was 14.
Yeah.
And they couldn't film a car chase with him driving a car because he was 14.
exactly.
So they were like, fuck it, horses.
Let's talk a little bit about the making of this movie, because holy shit, what a shit show. This is Alex Rider, Operation Stormbreaker. It was released July 21st, 2006. It's directed by Jeffrey Sachs and written by Anthony Horowitz. And it stars Alex Pettyfer, Mickey Rourke, Alicia Silverstone, Bill Nighy, Sophie Okonedo, Damian Lewis, Missy Pyle, Andy Serkis, Robbie Coltrane, Stephen fucking Fry, Sarah Bolger, and Ewan goddamn McGregor. All right, I know that
I feel
cast
like
list
you
was
even
long.
missed some people.
Yeah, the cast list was long there, but I had to really spell out how many insanely talented people are in this movie. I count at least 3 Oscar nominees, a couple probably future Oscar nominees, I don't doubt. Like
Did you also include, oh my God.
Jimmy
what is his
Carr.
name? Yes,
yeah, Jimmy Carr was in there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some of there was somebody else, I forget who, but crazy cast. So this obviously, if just kind of looking at the artwork of this movie, you can kind of tell this is a young adult stab at a James Bond kind of world. The problem is there was already a successful movie about spy kids, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was called. Something with an S. Either way, he was much more popular than this.
I got they were filming one in the last couple of years in downtown Austin.
Yeah.
And I actually was on my way to be in a show, and all of traffic was stopped on the street. Like a police truck just rolls up, or a truck with lights on top rolls up, blocks our lane. Another one rolls up, blocks the lane on the other side. So now the street in front of me that I'm trying to turn right onto, fully blocked, nobody can get on. And then there's a full chase scene with military vehicles and the camera cars and stuff goes through because I got stuck in the middle of that filming.
Yeah, I saw.
And I was almost late to the show.
I saw
I
that
was trying
video.
to be in.
I saw that that filming. I was like on the street, and I was like, oh, okay.
I was like, maybe my shitty red Ford Taurus will be in the background of this scene.
Oh dear, an espionage child. Oh my! I want to just yes, yeah.
Spy child.
Spy child. That's what it was
look.
called. Spy child. Yeah.
This movie.
Yeah. So this is based on a popular series of British YA novels written by Anthony Horowitz, who is a respected mystery writer. He's since gone on to write like official canonical James Bond and Sherlock Holmes novels. So he's respected in that community. The first novel in the Alex Rider series was called Stormbreaker. It was released in 2000, and it centers on Alex Rider, who is a 16-year-old boy who gets...
14.
He's 14, excuse me. He's a 14-year-old boy who gets recruited into a top-secret branch of MI6 after the mysterious death of his uncle. So that novel, it sold about 9 million copies worldwide, and
that's
pretty hefty.
That's pretty hefty.
That's not
I
bad.
wanna
It's not
say-
Harry Potter numbers, but it's not bad.
It was in like the Scholastic Book Fair and stuff when I was a kid
this
too.
seems like it would
Yeah.
it lives in the Scholastic Book Fair. This seems like it's printed on tissue paper, like it's so Scholastic Book Fair. So Horowitz adapted his own screen novel into the screenplay himself, and he worked closely with the filmmakers. Our director here is Jeffrey Sachs. He's an acclaimed British television and theater director who only has a very small handful of film credits. Outside of this, the most notable one is probably... have you seen White Noise, the Michael Keaton horror movie where like he's hearing ghosts in like static?
No.
I think I have.
It's like
a
an
long
okay,
time ago.
yeah, it's like an okay little ghost story movie. It's not bad, but
I
you
was-
said you know him from something else.
Well, I know him from Tipping the Velvet, which was a British miniseries that was by the same author that inspired Handmaiden. Because it was Fingersmith is the novel.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's just like this like cute little like Tipping the Velvet is really good. Like it's definitely like I don't know. I love a historical lesbian drama. I love the Saturday. Have you seen the Saturday Night Live sketch about historical lesbian dramas?
No, I don't think so.
It's. I'll show you the sketch later.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've heard like Tipping the Velvet came up on another podcast like a couple of months ago, and I forgot the name, and then so that sounds really cool. I mean, it sounds like he's a better TV director than he is a film director. An international casting call went out for the role of Alex.
I don't know. Like when I'm thinking about this movie, I don't blame the director.
I don't think I do either. I think
I blame
this
everyone
I think this got
a little
chopped
bit.
to bits.
Yeah,
I feel like this movie.
It
this
feels
whole-
like it was a production hell situation.
Yeah.
There's also some stuff, like some of the more like wild and out there stuff that happened in the movie was like not even in the book.
Yeah.
And so I was like, why did we add these things? It felt like
Need some razzle dazzle.
the target audience of this would have been like what? 10 to 16? Something like
sure,
that?
yeah, tweens. Tweens.
But it's like they made it for 6-year-olds or something because it's like they didn't give them the benefit of the doubt that they're like smart enough to understand things.
But then it's also a movie where a 14-year-old boy actually kills people with guns. And there's a disconnect there. We'll get into that. Let's talk about the 14-year-old boy in question. An international casting call went out for this role. They saw more than 500 people, and in the end, it was a 15-year-old actor and model named Alex Pettyfer who got the role. He was also offered the lead role in another YA adaptation, Aragon, which we will also be talking about someday.
Oh, please no.
chose
I
to
went
do
through that
this-
one too.
Chose to do this one instead. That's kind of there's no one won in that situation.
No.
So
I
while-
cried.
While Stormbreaker didn't really do much for his career, I do want to talk about this kid a little bit because he was being tipped as kind of the next big thing for a little bit, and then he really got in his own way from what it sounds like. So he had a little run for a while. He was the second billed actor in Magic Mike, which was a very popular film. And then
Presumably this was when he was older.
he was 19. Yeah, he was
19.
19, 20
Okay.
when he made that movie. And then he became the lead of like a couple of YA like targeting kind of Hunger Games ripoffs of a sort. Like so he was the lead of I Am Number 4 and Beastly, which we will talk about surprisingly. We are going to talk about that movie.
And kind of soon too, I think.
I think so, yeah. If we can get Whitney on, yeah, I think we're going to talk about that one. So he had those two movies that came out within a week of each other, and they both bombed, and that kind of destroyed his career. But it seems like he's kind of one of those guys that nobody really liked working with. Chalk it up to being just like young and
Being
very
a child.
pretty and being a spoiled child actor. But apparently he was paranoid and combative. He and Channing Tatum hated each other on Magic Mike.
Really?
That's why he's the only cast member who does not come back for any of the sequels. They hated each other. Apparently, the story that Alex Pettyfer told, like in a podcast recently, he said that Channing Tatum's friend rented him an apartment while they were shooting that movie, and Alex Pettyfer decided to just not pay the rent. And Channing Tatum got very pissed at him and said, like, you're screwed over my friends, et cetera, et cetera. And so he owes like 4 months back rent on that and just didn't pay it. So there's a lot of behavior like that. There's also some spousal abuse accusations
Really?
against him
Oh.
now. He was with Diana Agron from Glee. I think she was his co-star in one of these movies. And yeah, she said he's abusive and controlling and tried to start a fist fight with the Winter Soldier over her. Yeah, apparently Sebastian Stan and her are close friends. And so he got jealous and tried to start a fist fight with Bucky Barnes.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, he sounds like a tool.
Can we just have a moment and be like, man, Sebastian Stan is hot.
Right.
Sure.
So hot.
I saw a thing recently where it was like, I think it was the Sebastian Stan was running like a marathon or something.
Sure.
And he was like stopped off to the side, like taking a quick drink or something. And I had seen this picture and I'm like, man, that guy is. Oh, that. Yeah. Okay. This makes sense now.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't even notice that he was like the subject of it because I didn't catch like what the comment was.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is an attractive man. Oh, okay. All right.
You know, we'll give it to Alex Pettyfer too. He grew up to be like a remarkably pretty man, and I think that's why he got as many shots as he did, despite being kind
Before
of a
we move
kind
on
of a
from
shit.
Sebastian Stan, there's this movie.
Yeah.
No, there's like this movie that is so underrated, and it's such a small, tiny indie movie that he's in, and it's called Fresh. And it's like basically he's a cannibal, but he lures women by being attractive and charming into these like being harvested for as a cannibal supplier.
Oh, okay.
And it's so good. It's so good. I think
I've
it's Netflix.
That one's Hulu. I've seen
Hulu,
it. I've
it's
seen
on
it pop
Hulu.
up on Hulu. I haven't
and
seen it.
It
but
came
yeah.
out in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fairly recent
Hulu
one.
is on the film poster.
Yeah, exactly. It's a
I'm
Hulu
sorry, I
produced
don't have
movie.
perfect
I'm just saying,
recall.
No, I was just saying this is that was as in like they really got it out there that this was on Hulu.
I'm just saying that's always bums me out a little bit when I see a movie poster and it's got Netflix or Hulu or Amazon original on there. It's from a design aesthetic, it just bums me out.
So tomorrow
if it's
Roadhouse
Hulu, I get it.
premieres,
Oh,
and
oh,
I'm
right.
so sad that I'm not going to get to see Roadhouse in the cinema.
That's right. Yeah, South by Southwest is
Yeah,
starting
they're
here.
showing it, but that's the only time it's going to be on the big screen, and I'm so disappointed I don't get to see it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a bummer. Yeah. Hopefully that'll get a revival down the line. A lot of streaming movies are.
Well, who knows? Maybe the. No, I think it's gonna be good. Honestly, I
Yeah.
love I'm such a fan
Roadhouse
of
is
the
fun as
old
hell.
school Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze just being all like, I'm Patrick Swayze.
That is-
literally that's what he does.
It's
He
his
just-
only line. It's a little, it's like a Hodor situation. Yeah.
Throat grabs and just
Yeah. With throat ribs.
That's an interesting one to go for, J-Man.
Yeah, revealing some stuff, I guess. I don't know. Aside from Alex Pettyfer, we have to talk about the cast that's happening here.
oh, the
because
cast
Jesus
is so
Christ.
good. It's-
All right, Oscar nominees include Bill Nighy, Sophie Okonedo, and Mickey Rourke. Then we also have Stephen Fry and Andy Serkis and Damian Lewis and Robbie Coltrane and Ewan McGregor. Like, look, here's kind of the environment we were.
What's the name of the guy who killed Ian McGregor's character?
That's Damian Lewis.
Yes.
Damian Lewis. He was so good in. Was it Band of Brothers?
Yeah, he's
Band
Band
of
of
Brothers.
Oh, God,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
loved
Incredible
it.
in Band of
Fantastic in
Brothers.
I used to
in
watch
that
Band
show.
of Brothers every December, and it's such a good movie.
My
He's a
roommate
good actor.
throws it on so often that I just get caught in it, and then we finish whatever episode.
Did you
he
watch
was-
the
he was
new
on from there.
Apple show? Because like I don't have Apple, but it's supposed
don't
to
have
be
Apple either.
just as good as Band of Brothers.
Okay.
But I haven't seen it. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the problem. If you want somebody to not see your thing, put it on Apple TV Plus. Like they do, they're like the purveyor of like the most high quality stuff that no one will ever watch.
Speaking of high quality stuff that no one will ever watch, I could get through that without laughing.
We couldn't get through that. Yeah. Well, okay.
This
let's-
movie has.
Let's talk about the environment that this movie came out in, okay? Because 2006, every young adult adaptation is being snatched up, okay? Because we had Harry Potter that hit really big first, and that was for
Twilight
younger
era
audiences.
too?
And then Twilight happened just after that. So Twilight came out this same year as this movie, but it was already in the mail.
What year did the first Hunger Games come out?
2012. So
Okay.
that was
Oh,
still
God,
that was still
that was
coming.
way off.
So we're in this period between the first Twilight and the Hunger Games where every YA adaptation is being snatched up, thrown onto the screen, said it's going to be the next big thing, and it
90% of
dies.
them go nowhere.
This is maybe the biggest flop of all of them, but this is the era when we had Spiderwick Chronicles and the Mortal Instruments and the Seeker, the Giver, Aragon. Yeah, they had.
I'm still mad about that movie.
They had all of these things, and like
Save it for the podcast.
yeah, we're gonna do that one. I've never seen it. Or read the books, so that one's nowhere to go but up. But yeah, this is just the environment that this movie is coming out in. Like, there's so many of these. Like, they're trying to make anything possible stick, and apparently they just didn't have the follow through on this because, like, all right. So first of all, they have some confusion about the title. In the UK, this movie is just called Stormbreaker. In the U.S., they expanded it to Alex Rider: Operation Stormbreaker. And then these games that we're talking about are just called Alex Rider Stormbreaker. So they had a lot of confusion about what this thing was actually called in the end. The Weinstein Company acquired the rights in the U.S., and by all accounts, they butchered the release here. According to Anthony Horowitz, he said Harvey Weinstein lost interest in the property and barely gave it release. This played on fewer than 200 screens in the States.
No wonder it didn't make its money
Yeah,
back.
it came out with a fart. It made less than $1 million in its theatrical run. Like, this movie that cost about 40 made less than $1 million, and even when you tally the worldwide, like the British results, it's 23 million total worldwide. That's a pretty abysmal showing. They didn't even make back their very modest budget, and especially when you consider how big these books are and how the potential of a franchise that this had. It's bizarre that they butchered it so hard.
It's funny because I was alive during 2006.
Yeah,
me
and
too.
I don't remember anything about this movie. Like, this movie was complete shot in the dark.
Yeah.
Like, I had never heard of it at all.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm just like.
I think the only reason why I knew about it was because I had seen Stormbreaker, the book, with new art related to the movie, and I was like, what? And then that's when I learned that there was a movie from it, and I was like, oh well, I don't know if I'll ever watch this one.
Yeah. I mean, there's another huge name involved in this movie that I had no idea was involved until the opening credits. Fucking Donnie Yen did the choreography, the fight choreography for this movie. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Fucking Donnie Yen is the fight consultant. In some scenes, you can see him
Yeah, you can
with
see
the
him.
blonde wig doing Alex's stunts.
Yeah.
Now, Donnie Yen, one of the greatest martial artists alive, maybe the best one alive
the
right
rope
now.
fight.
Yeah.
I was like, when I watched the rope fight, I'm like, this fight is too good for this movie.
It's because it's Ip Man, right? Like, that's what he does in that movie. Like, that's Donnie Yen is an unbelievable martial artist, and he's so overqualified to be working on this movie. So, all right, let's dig into this movie because this thing is absolutely friggin'
You
bizarre.
start off with a better movie than that actually exists.
It's very
And
true. They do not deliver on the movie
we
they're
have
promising.
Ian McGregor as James Bond.
I mean, who didn't want that? I mean, weirdly, like, two of the guys in this movie that were bandied around for Bond, it was Damian Lewis, who we were talking about from Band of Brothers, and it was Ewan McGregor. Both of them were kind of considered the front runner for Bond for a long time. I think they're both probably aged out of it by now. But yeah, that's great.
That's
like,
right,
I want.
but he aged into Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Exactly did.
Yeah, he did.
Exactly. Look, aging like a snack, by the way. Like looking great.
It's such an absurd thing to me because we've been kind of mentioning it and bandying around it, but I don't think anybody lived up to their capability in this movie.
No.
Like, I think Ewan McGregor was the closest to, and he didn't say anything.
Look,
okay, he had a phone call.
Here's my theory. I think Ewan McGregor had a very, very good, fun day making, $50,000 to shoot this scene. Like, I'm willing to bet they paid out the ass to get a big name in this movie for one scene. kind of establish the stakes, and that's probably about it, you know. So yeah, I think he maybe has 1 or 2 speaking lines. The rest of the time, he is a photograph, you know, that's just constantly coming back out.
Yeah. Oh,
But
God.
this movie is such a weird blend of like slick looking production values and then completely amateurish filmmaking. Like,
So I don't know if I'm jumping ahead.
No.
But we have to talk about that jellyfish.
The Man of War.
oh, I'm gonna get to the jellyfish. I first need to get this out because
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure I saw this or if I'm conflating it with some Fellini movie. There's a scene in this movie in the opening chase during the Ewan McGregor segment where they drive by a beach where an old couple
Yeah.
are sitting in front of a Punch and Judy show.
Yes, that is.
And the Punch and Judy puppets look at the screen and then explode.
No. It's
no,
even
the
better.
puppets don't explode.
Okay,
It's
but
even better,
It was
because
the booth exploded. That puppeteer is dead.
So yes,
those
no,
old people are probably
like
dead.
a rocket was fired in the. I believe it showed the puppet show, and then it showed the chaos in the background, and a rocket gets fired at the booth on accident, and then it cuts to the booth. The puppets see the rocket, panic, and then everything explodes.
Yeah. Okay. Again, this is
Both-
a kids movie
both-
that opens with 3.
Both the puppeteer and possibly the old couple.
Oh, there's no
are
way
not alive.
They were so close to that day. But first of all, like, who the fuck is doing a Punch and Judy act on the beach
And I love
in
how
Cornwall
I love
or wherever
how
the fuck
as
they
it's,
are?
as it's being filmed, you can see like when it shows the old couple, you can see the chaos and like gunfire in the background. They don't give a fuck.
That's what I'm
They're
saying.
there for that puppet show, and that is it.
And that's one of the things that makes me feel like this movie was chopped all to hell for the stateside release, because that scene, the editing in that made no sense at all.
No.
I don't feel like anyone would have intentionally left that in the movie if it
No,
wasn't
that
just
was
being
intention.
rushed out.
I feel like one of the things that this movie gets wonky is the tone, because
100%.
in James Bond there is an era of James Bondian films where it's a bit wacky.
Yeah.
Where something like the Punch and Judy being blown up and the wink at the screen would definitely they would have done it better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a wackiness to it, and I feel like this movie suffers from going back and forth between wacky kid, wacky film, spy film, super serious.
And that's the thing, is the books were very much more on the more serious tone with like kind of James Bond-esque quips and stuff here and there.
Oh, the quips in this movie were abysmal.
They were so
Painful.
fucking bad.
I mean, yeah, I agree completely with the tone. I feel like extending even further on that, I don't think anybody agreed on what movie they wanted to make, because
Right.
every actor is coming into this movie with their own energy. Like Bill Nye is in, like, he's in like a Tim Burton
He's in
movie
Hot
somewhere.
Fuzz.
Like, yeah,
He's
yeah.
in Hot Fuzz.
That's a better way to put it.
That's
Yeah,
the
he's-
movie that he is filming at this point.
These movies literally overlapped.
There's
so
a point.
He might have been doing it.
There's a point where they're showing like a projected film of background information on the guy that they're after.
Yeah.
And he just like stands up in front of the screen in like the most kind of slapstick goofy thing and goes, "I don't trust him."
Well, you know how, like, in The Office, the threat level midnight, you know, where
Yeah.
they don't agree whether Dwight's character should be a robot or not? That feels like the decision that went into this. Like, his behavior is so bizarre. But then you get, like, Mickey Rourke as the villain coming in trying to be actually kind of menacing, but he's got this wacky, like, Russian sidekick played by Missy Pyle who's acting like she's a wind-up doll who keeps malfunctioning.
She's
like,
acting like she's playing
Yes.
an SNL character.
Yeah. So half of the people are making a broad family comedy, and the other half are playing a straight down the line, like not even kids Bond film, just like a Bond film.
Yeah.
And there's no consistency on that tone. And I have to say, I don't like picking on actors, especially when they're very young actors, but I don't think this kid playing Alex is holding the screen. You know, he's got no... this kid's very unlikable. You know, right from the get-go, I think this kid, he doesn't have the suaveness of a James Bond. You know, he doesn't seem like he has any like character.
Well, it's so interesting because, you know, the classic, the way you make a protagonist is that you show them getting picked on or struggling with girls. Like, he never struggles with girls. His uncle dies, but he isn't allowed to have real grief. It would be great if this movie was propelled by Alex's grief, but it's glossed over. It's completely not like he's too busy making quips to being like if this movie was about a child seeking vengeance for his beloved parent, I think it would have so much more energy. But it's just like I do think that I think it's hard to ask for a child, a 14-year-old or 15-year-old to have the gravitas of suaveness that a James Bond would have.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, he's
wooden. He's wooden to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like he looks the part. He looks like he was cast because he looked good on the poster, but he just doesn't have any of that energy. And yeah, you're exactly right. Like, he needs to start at a deficit so we can kind of root for him. This kid does not need us rooting for him. He's got his shit more figured out than I ever will, okay? He's got everything together. And he wasn't even that close with his uncle. He was mostly raised by Cher Horowitz, who, okay, is Alicia Silverstone aware that he's a spy or not?
She
I was
becomes
unclear.
aware that she's a spy, but they show her becoming aware off screen. So they never
Okay.
show her being all like, "Oh," and she's like, "Oh, I can't believe you're letting him be a spy." She's just being like reactionary after the fact.
I wasn't clear if she was like meant to be sort of a sleeper agent who's been training him the entire time.
That would make more
or-
sense.
That would make more sense, but
Nope.
she just kind of didn't know. She just thought, "Oh, I live in this weird mansion with like this random kid that's not mine for this random guy I don't see."
Well, she was a nanny. She was the nanny for 9 years, and like it's always really interesting because like I have a friend of mine who's a nanny, and like she continued to be a nanny even for like a 16-year-old, and because like basically they take a lot of the care and like parenting, but it's really interesting that because like this kid, he's supposed to be 14, but they don't give him any insecurities of a 14-year-old.
No.
And they like, I mean, I really hate it when people are like, "Oh, I can't talk to girls," but a 14-year-old boy can't talk to girls. You know what I mean?
No, and we see one of the first interactions he has in this movie is a girl comes up to him and asks him, or he asks her out like very casually. And then like when she says, "Oh, I don't know if I can, but maybe another time," he's like, "Yeah, whatever." You know, like he's too cool for school. Like, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, like I think, and I think that the lines as written were probably fine, but they weren't delivered right, because he delivered it in the sense of like, yeah, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
But I believe the intent from like the books would have been like, oh yeah.
yeah. No,
was there
whatever.
a romance in the books?
There was hints of it, and I'm trying to like piece together.
Did you
I-
read all of them?
I
was like
read
14, I think.
most of them. I
Okay.
read probably a solid 10.
Okay.
But it's been so long, my memory's not super great. I know that there was a girl that he was interested in school, and that things were kind of going and then not going, but it was always kind of catch-ups due to him periodically taking like 2-3 month vacations, and then it all being kind of weird.
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
were like, "Where have you been? Why didn't you tell me you were gonna?" And then eventually he gets into a serious relationship, and I think it's the same girl, but it might be somebody else.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's hinted at. It's like clumsily thrown in at the end of the movie that their car chase happens to be at the horse park where she's
And
taking her.
Yes, and that
equestrian
So
lessons.
in the book, the thing finishes. They're getting the debrief. They're like, "Yes, we didn't catch either the assassin or the big guy, but we're looking. We'll find him." And then there was no backup. Like the whole thing is done. It was intentionally set up so that only the device at the computer at the show,
The headquarters,
or whatever, the showcase that they were doing, that was the only way that it could be triggered. So
Yeah.
the virus is done. He actually gets kidnapped on his way home by Damian Cray, and then that's when he gets saved by the assassin. And it's literally just a thing of like, he kidnaps him, takes him to a helipad, and is like, I'm leaving the country. I want you to know that I'm going to get away with it before I kill you. And then that's when the assassin shows up and saves his life. Who has reasons we don't get to not want to kill the kid.
Maybe he was a child soldier too.
There you go. Yeah, that's literally what Alex Rider
I know
is.
the
Can we-
reasons,
yeah.
but I don't want to say the reasons. But basically,
You're not going to spoil this for me. I'm not going to read these.
yeah, like as soon as like that's the end of it. Like the movie literally ends with him standing on the helipad with the helicopter flying away because the assassin was the one in
Right.
the helicopter.
Well,
and
and I
then
think
Damian
it's-
Cray dead on the ground.
And it's one
And
of those
there's no
things.
craziness. Nobody from his school knows anything.
Well, and I think it's like one of the things is like an ending in a book is different from especially a 14 episode series or 14 book series. Yeah, like it definitely, like, I feel like the movie really failed to nail the ending. Like, really, like, you don't see the bad guys get their comeuppance.
Smacked my microphone.
Yep. That's Justin getting very angry about that comment. Yes.
And that's the thing, is that this movie takes everything that was like at the sevens, because while the movie did have action, or the book did have action, it was a little more in like the thriller sense of things.
Sure.
And not like super crazy. Like, for instance, they do this thing where there's a photo booth, and in the photo booth you take pictures, and the photo booth will then take you, and then
That's just Harry Potter. It's just
yeah,
the
it's
Ministry
just,
of
they
Magic.
even
right?
jokes
It's
about it
just the
being
Ministry of
Hogwarts.
Magic. Yeah.
But it's like this dumb contraption thing that then takes it to a giant underground headquarters. In reality, it's literally just like a no-name building with, I say a no-name, it's a building with like a very generic like bank-looking thing that kind of runs as a shitty bank.
MI6 has a building.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
But
A pretty famous building.
Yeah, they know. Yeah. It's,
Yeah, like the idea that they set up is that they have a front that they run this special team out of, or at least that they headquarter it out of. But it's just blending in.
Yeah,
it's not like some secret hidden place. It's like, no, it's a small credit union.
Am
style
I
bank or
allowed to
some
talk
shit.
about the jellyfish now?
You can talk about anything.
We must discuss the jellyfish. The jellyfish is kind of at the crux of this whole thing because,
It's
like
a
I said,
Portuguese man of war.
Excuse us. Yeah.
No, that prop was a jellyfish.
That thing really exemplifies what we're working with here. A very expensive, like slick looking movie that just cuts bizarre corners. Like, I don't know what. Yeah, tell us about this.
So the jellyfish / Portuguese man of war.
Yes.
Is in this tank, and it's like the world's worst puppet.
It is rooted in place.
So the puppet is so bad, and like there's a little fish that comes along, and the fish gets electrocuted and turned into a skeleton that then floats to the bottom of the tank.
I would say it sinks to the bottom of the tank, but
Oh my god.
Anyway, and Alex like ends up being like, they put him in there, and instead of him dying instantly because it's a Portuguese man of war and like their tentacles go on for 10, 15, 20 feet beyond them, like he's like, oh, let me like, oh, and they're trying to show him go like fighting like to stay away from this jellyfish. Just this looks so stupid.
It is Ed Wood level shit. It is Bela Lugosi laying in the pond and thrashing with the tentacles on him. Like, it is ridiculous how bad this thing
it's like
looks.
they really wanted to go for the death in the book where she gets wrapped up in the man of war, because that is how it happened in the book, pretty close. But they just executed it so badly, like from the Chekhov's gun
her
all the way to
legs
there.
go up
Yeah.
straight into the air
And
with
twitch.
this twitch, and you're just like, it's so. out of tone and so stupid.
Well, exactly. It's moments like that. It's moments like the photo booth, or like, you know, there are all these different scenes where it's like,
And,
are
like-
we hinting at a more magical kind of fun world here? But then we cut back to the scenes with Alex, and he's dour and he's straight faced. Like,
and then
there's this whole subplot where he has to get in with the creator of the Stormbreaker computer by pretending to be a boy who won a contest.
Hold on.
And
A
instead of-
computer nerd.
Computer nerd.
And instead of being like under the radar or actually like being covert, he just makes assholey quips at him, and I'm like, dude, you're being a bad spy.
He barges through it. Like, he could not be more conspicuous. He could not be less of a computer nerd, or like couldn't be bothered to even pretend to be a computer nerd. I really thought they were going to do the thing. They had the picture of kind of like a homely looking nerdy kid on the poster, and I really thought they were going to try and put him in makeup and make him look dorky. And instead they went the other way, where it's like, all right, let's get rid of this dorky kid. You're always going to be Alex Rider, and you don't need to pretend to be undercover in the least. Okay, good job.
It was just super frustrating, because then every conversation that he has with the bad guys is like one of those things of like, and it happens every once in a while in a James Bond movie where it's like, okay, well, they both clearly know who each other are, but they're just not playing their card yet.
Yeah.
And every single scene is like Alex is very clearly like mad dogging whoever it is, and like they're very clearly being low key evil on the screen. I say low key in quotes.
Yeah,
and it's like,
they don't have mustaches, but if they did, they would twirl them.
yeah,
yes.
like
well, Mickey Rourke had a mustache.
It all looks just so. There's nothing left to the imagination. Like,
Yeah.
not that you didn't know that these were going to be the bad guys, but at least give like a little bit of suspense of trying to figure out that they're the bad guys, instead of making them blatantly evil in appearance, behavior,
Yeah.
motions, the way the one lady walks around.
Yeah.
The only person that was supposed to be like sinister relatively openly was Mr. Grin.
Yeah.
And then, you know, yeah. It's
Yeah,
just
and
such a
Mr. Grin,
weird
of course,
fucking-
like they have because sodium pentothal just is like a mind control drug now instead of a
Yeah.
truth serum.
Yeah, it's you get exactly 6
Take
minutes
me
of
to lunch.
controlling
6
someone.
hours of
Oh, 6
controlling.
hours.
If you have 6 hours of controlling, like, it's so problematic, and it's
That's like Jessica Jones shit. That's
Yeah.
scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, and it's so it's really interesting, the fight between Alicia Silverstone and the Russian lady.
Missy
Yeah.
Pyle. Yeah, I forget her character's name.
I don't know the character's name. And it was so funny. So they have like this fight, and I'm like, I'm really enjoying this fight. And then they just like, they leave it, like she gets stung by a pufferfish, but like, why did she leave her alive? Like, why did she leave Alicia Silverstone alive? What
Like,
was
what did that serve? What
what-
purpose did that
like,
serve?
It was a fun fight.
Sure.
But they could have like plotted it in, you know?
Yeah, it's all so incredibly sloppy, and we haven't even touched on the Q scene with Stephen Fry. Like, okay, so like you can absolutely tell the calculus here. It's like, okay, so James Bond's gadgets are kind of like toys, you know. So what if Alex Rider's are literally toys since he's a child? And that leads to the very subtle, you probably blink and you'll miss it, the very, very subtle Nintendo product placement that's in this movie. You might...
Subtle.
It's very
Which is fair.
nuanced. It's
It is
very...
in the book too.
Absolutely, yeah, that's the thing. So it's in the book, it's a Game Boy Color, right?
Yes.
That is also like
But
a bug
also,
finder, and this is a Nintendo DS.
In the book, he's at the headquarters.
Okay.
And so they don't do it at a toy shop. He just rolls in and does it. And then from that point on, Mr. Smithers has a tendency to disguise himself as somebody as part of the scenery to then deliver gadgets. But they just go straight for it in this one.
Yeah, it's real goofy, but I think that does provide a good segue to talk about the games, Alex Rider Stormbreaker, because obviously Nintendo was convinced that this movie was going to do some big things.
I also want to point out that in the book, they do not have a truth serum thing. What happens is Alex detonates a smoke bomb in the plane, which was one of his cartridges in the Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what then gets the plane crash, because Mr. Grin can't fly a plane if he can't see where the plane's going.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And also it was a plane, not a helicopter. The helicopter took off like a plane, though, in the movie.
Well,
Why
there you
was it
go.
rolling forward? It goes up. That's what helicopters do. Sorry, I repressed some of this. And it's all coming back to me now.
I can summarize it pretty well. I have this in my notes. I wrote one line. This script is quite stupid. That was in my notes.
It was so funny.
I needed to remember that.
Some of the actors, you could see them being all like, I can't believe I'm saying this line.
Yeah. And again, you get Bill Nighy, who just he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna commit to it. I'm gonna go for it.
Straight up was like, did Edgar Wright didn't direct this, did he?
No,
course
come on.
not.
I would have shit my pants.
Edgar Wright would not have stood for a movie that's poorly edited.
It felt so much like some of the acting was being like, it was so Hot Fuzz-esque of like, especially Bill Nighy. It was like, this is literally his character from Hot Fuzz, 100%.
Well, let's talk about this game here. It's Alex Rider Stormbreaker. Drop the operation. It's cleaner. It was released September 26, 2006, developed by Razorback Developments on the Game Boy Advance, or Ultron on the DS, and it's published by THQ. So, yeah, this is one of the rare handful of movies that actually uses a video game as a plot device, as mentioned. I think there's kind of a meta thread to a couple of these movies. Like in the movie Surf Ninjas, they play the Game Boy game of Surf Ninjas in the movie, and they use it to control other people fighting. It's very weird, but this is kind of approaching that territory.
Also, one more little quick thing. I caught it when I was looking through the IMDb like trivia stuff about the movie, and they pointed out that when Alex was originally shown what all the cartridges do, none of that lines up with the cartridges that he uses to actually do those things later.
Oh, yeah.
It's all the wrong cartridge compared to what he was told, but it does the thing.
But he does play Mario Kart, right? Yeah.
It's actually in all of the games in the book are games with special features, special functions to them.
Okay.
So they all look like games unless you do the right thing to then detonate the smoke bomb or to use the bug device.
Okay.
Which, if you have a bug tracking device that just beeps louder as you get closer to the bug, they know what you're doing.
So this button, Alex, lets you play Kirby's Big Adventure, and this button here lets you kill a man by stabbing him in the throat. What? Yes, that happened in the movie.
The knife comes out of the cartridge.
So
Yes.
back to the game.
Back to the game.
Sorry, I just keep thinking of more things to complain about.
Two very different games. I will say we get two very different versions of this game. Let's talk about the DS one, since the DS is the one that actually makes the appearance in the movie. How do we describe this game? It's basically a PlayStation 1 game in terms of like camera controls,
really
and like
is.
it looks, I think I called it, you were playing it, I called it Metal Gear Limp. I think that kind of describes it.
As you could imagine, I made a Limp Bizkit reference.
You did.
But in the thing with that era, for people who are less familiar with earlier video games, especially like early 3D video games, they're still trying things out. They're still doing things for the first time. They're still learning lessons. And so there are lessons that they haven't learned in 98, 99, 2000 that they start using pretty quickly, and everything starts to get, they start kind of agreeing on third person camera controls work best this way.
Right.
And when they made this game, they ignored almost all of those lessons.
Yeah, it's very stiff. We started the opening level where you're playing as Ewan McGregor's character, although they clearly did not get his likeness right.
Yeah, no, not at all.
It's a very muddy looking, just standard white man. You can't really tell what's going on with him, but it's a thrilling sequence where you walk through a factory and then you go outside and you walk across a parking lot. Occasionally you punch a man. It's not that exciting, but I will say the game picked up a little bit in the second level with the motorcycle chase.
I had fun with the motorcycle chase because you get to kick people while on a motorcycle, and that's just really fun.
You get so few chances to do that in real life.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Steve made a comparison to Road Rash, which was one of my favorite games as a kid. Shout out to the Sega Genesis.
Yeah, it was on the Genesis.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 3DO, PlayStation. Yeah, a couple things. Yeah, it's there's a little bit of juice in those segments because it feels like Road Rash. You're dodging obstacles and like trying to kick these guys off their motorcycles before they can kick you off of yours. Not bad, decent enough. And then when we get to the Alex sequence, it's just sort of a standard walk around, beat 'em up. There's a bit of a stealth element in that you have like what do they call it? Like
it's a caution meter, which
caution
I hated
meter.
the caution meter because like I died that way. It's not because I was stuck. I was like, why can't I just bite all these people?
See, yeah, and like sometimes you can just go through and fight everybody, and then sometimes that caution meter will just keep going, and when it hits 100, you die and you lose a level. So, yeah, not terribly excited. Like we've definitely played worse than the 3DS version or than the DS version of this game, but it's pretty uninspired.
And I think the thing that was the worst part of it is that, as I was saying earlier, the most third-person games have the camera back and a little bit up from the character.
Yeah.
In this game, the camera was like 3 feet behind Alex and
Like at your
level
midriff, yeah.
level with like his like lower shoulder.
Yeah.
Like his collarbone almost. And so that means that the player character is blocking everything.
Yeah.
Instead of it being a little off to the side so that you can see around like the whatever dominant angle they're trying to present, right-handed, left-handed, that kind of thing. It is not Gears of War. It is far from it, which I think
No.
Gears of
Yeah.
War came out a year later. So-
Yeah, that was about right. I mean, in both cases with these versions, it's a stealth game that just really seems very, very disinterested in the stealth element. Like it's
Well-
not even like a kid's stealth game. It's just disinterested.
Yeah, and like it wasn't like we played a lot worse.
Oh, for sure.
But
Yes.
it's definitely like I don't know. It seems like to switch to the Nintendo Advance.
The Game Boy
Game Boy
Advance.
Game
yeah,
Boy
yeah.
Advance. God damn it.
Yeah, you were close.
Game Boy Advance. I felt like that was a little bit more engaging and a little bit more fun.
I guess I was a little into the Game Boy Advance version. Very simplistic, but yeah, not a bad little like top-down action game. I think whatever reason I like top-down perspectives in games like this. Like I don't know why. Maybe it's just being an old school Zelda fan. You know, like I just
And historically, a lot of like action-oriented stealth games have been like top-down isometric.
yeah.
A lot of like Metal Gear is from interesting camera perspectives, but are always like above, so you can see more of what's going on. Stuff like
Yeah.
Commandos,
Ikari
Fallout
Warriors,
Tactics, stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's usually much closer to like isometric or top down because that just makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I think Die Hard top down as well.
Yeah, we played that
Yeah,
one.
that was
yeah.
fun.
I mean, yeah, this one, again, it has the same issue of having kind of the trappings of a stealth game, but for the most part, the stealth mechanics don't matter. There's a training sequence early on where you need to evade a guard, and if he sees you, then you get sent back to your original spot. But most of the time, if a guard sees you, you can just punch them, and it
And in
takes
fact,
like 2 hits.
The chances are exceptionally high that the guard will see you. You would, I didn't necessarily like try to slow down and take it stealthy.
Yeah.
Because one, I realized almost immediately that they just charge you.
Yeah.
And then you beat them up, and then no harm, no foul.
No consequences.
There's
You're
no
fine.
consequence, and they're oftentimes just kind of standing right where you need to go, and it's like, all right, buddy, I guess this is how this is gonna go. There's no ability to crouch. There is no like actual stealth in the game other than if they aren't looking at you, you can walk past them.
Basically, yeah. You get some gadgets, you know, like you have your little Nintendo DS. Ironic that you're playing the Game Boy Advance and they're giving you the more advanced system. Just kind of like really rub it in your face that you're not playing on the DS right now.
Yeah.
But I do think this is kind of a better game. It's a less ambitious but better game, I think. It's a little more
It's
fun
less
to play. It's a little-
ambitious, and so there's less that can be wrong with it.
And in either case, I will actually say I prefer both versions of this game to the movie.
Yeah, I
would
I
much
prefer-
rather play
that's
these.
fair.
Yeah.
I prefer
That's pretty
the
fair.
video games to the movie as well, and I also feel like the Nintendo DS is very pretty. They had the rights to Alex Rider and Alicia Silverstone's characters, so they actually like were in the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely it wasn't riveting. It didn't make me want to be like sit down and play games like but it didn't like make me want to throw the console across the room.
No, and it is. I can't think of the last time we had a game better than the movie. It's been a little bit.
been a
Maybe
bit, yeah.
Toys, but Toys was also still not a very good game. Yeah, it was just the bar was low on that one.
Honestly, though, I was thinking back to Toys a lot while watching this.
Yeah.
Because some of the characters and mannerisms just felt like they would have fit more in that movie than this movie.
It's true. Yeah. Weirdly, I was thinking about that movie a lot here too, and there's not really any reason to, but there's just something about the boondoggle of it.
yeah.
'Cause the Toys was the last big. Well, no, we talked about Cutthroat Island, but Cutthroat Island's a much more sane and rational movie. Like, you understand the mechanics that went into Cutthroat
Yes.
Island. You don't really understand the ones that went into Toys.
Yeah, because not only are the toys whatever, but also like all of the people have such caricature-esque mannerisms, which is something that this movie suffered from, was that all of the characters just felt like they were playing not only a caricature but also a trope, and that was the zero depth. In the book, there was more conversations between the different characters. The pacing was a lot slower. They actually had to try to spy, as opposed to just like, wow, none of these doors are locked. This is weird. I can just go straight into all the secret rooms, and this is great. I love this. There was one locked door in the movie, I think.
Okay.
And that was the the keypad door that he gets caught trying to look into.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like key card collecting and stuff in this, so it's standard enough fare.
Yes,
but
the Game Boy game at least is literally just go collect key cards and beat people up to get to them.
it's
Key cards open doors. That door then leads you to another door that needs a key card. Go find that key card. Good luck.
unchallenging but unoffensive, I will
Yeah.
say, is kind of where I come down on it. But what do we think of Alex Rider, Operation Stormbreaker overall? Are we calling this a good movie, good game, bad movie, bad game, or somewhere in between? I mean, I don't think I even need to say. I think we all kind of have
You got
landed.
through it with a straight face, which is better than I would.
Yeah. All right, Justin, it is your choice. Where are you landing on this one?
Absolutely bad movie, and I'd say bad game, but not that bad.
Yeah. J-Ben, how about you?
Bad movie and adequate game. I mean, bad movie with some nice eye candy in the form of Ian McGregor.
Sure. Briefly.
Very briefly.
He's in other movies. I'm just saying. You can watch better movies than this one.
Yeah, easy.
He's good in those movies. You ever see Train Spotting? Train Spotting's a good movie. Go watch
oh my
that
God.
one.
Before I moved to Scotland for the first time, I
Yeah.
was like, I'm going to watch a movie about Scotland. And I watched Train Spotting.
You made a poor choice. The commitments were right there. Or that's Irish. Sorry, that's Irish.
Yes.
Excuse me.
No,
Excuse me,
like,
everyone.
I really want to know what Ewan McGregor thought was, because like
I'll tell you what he thought. I was in that movie?
I legitimately,
If you
it's
were
like
to ask him today, I
all
bet
of
he
the
would forget.
crazy shit that happened in that movie.
Not to talk about. Anyway.
It's just like he could have filmed his entire thing and not known how much of a train wreck the rest of the movie would have been, including his parts.
Yeah.
Because most of the stuff that was a mess in his parts was all CG and done around him and not with him there.
Yeah.
So sorry to change the subject because I want to talk about this. But talking about so we were watching Dune earlier this week, Justin and I, and we were watching the trailers, or you might have missed the trailers.
No, I was there
You were
for
there.
most of them.
Remember? So there's this movie that's coming out called
Is this the
Civil
one?
War.
Yeah. Yeah.
The entire theater went ugh after watching it, and not because it's a bad-looking movie. It's an A24 production.
It's an Alex Garland, yeah.
Yeah, it's Alex Garland. I think 28 Days Later director.
Yeah, he directed Ex Machina
yeah.
and Annihilation.
And I feel so bad because he's an excellent director and excellent
It's just
writer.
too soon.
But like
Too close.
Everyone, like, I feel like this movie is gonna bomb hard because we're just like it's too close.
We're too
Yeah.
exhausted.
I think that's the vibe with that movie. Generally, is people
and
like,
it's
no,
too
not
bad
now."
because I don't know. It premieres this, I think Friday.
Yeah,
However,
April sometime, yeah.
the general gist of that movie.
It premiere. It's
It's South by.
South
South by.
by.
Yeah.
The gist of it appears to be that Texas and Florida form a coalition.
Texas and
secede.
California.
Was it California? I thought
Yeah,
it was
Texas
Florida.
and
I don't see
California.
that happening.
I
don't
think,
know.
see Texas
I
and
think
Florida.
I think they
Yeah.
were like, oh, we're gonna make this realistic, but not too realistic because it's too, and like it's. But
Yeah, I can't really. I don't know. Maybe, but maybe if they're assuming all of Texas is Austin, then we're probably fine. But you know.
But one thing that I did notice was, oh my God, what's the name of the psychopath in Breaking Bad?
Which one? Jesse Plemons?
Yeah. Well, what was his character? Todd.
Yeah.
He's in that movie too.
So is Kirsten Dunst, and they're a married couple. Yeah.
I didn't know they were married.
I think they're married. They're dating at least. I think they might be married because it was a big deal. They both got nominated for Power of the Dog.
Yeah.
It is
And so it was like,
California.
yeah.
It's fucking wild.
Anyway,
I don't think Texas and California could agree on anything
Well,
based
they've
on
got
us
enough
living here.
people.
Yeah.
They have enough people, but everybody in charge of Texas hates California.
Yeah.
Not like for good reasons, but they hate California.
Yeah, there's some animosity.
Anyway, but-
Either way, we'll see how that movie shakes out if
Yeah.
I feel like watching it. But we're not watching Civil War next week. We're going to be watching something I would say substantially less challenging than that.
Substantially more lighthearted, maybe?
You could say that if it weren't so weirdly adult and depressing, but we'll get into it. Because next week we are talking about our favorite modern Stone Age family. That's right. We are talking about the Flintstones, the 1994 live-action version of the Flintstones. Strap in, y'all. This is a weird one. So we will see you next week for that one. And in the meantime, avoid Alex Rider. Do not accept the operation.
Please do.
Yeah, don't do it.